Hi there folks, I'm standing here by our overwintered kale bed. This is a very sturdy and resilient variety called Red Russian, but we have grown it from our own seed for many years, so it's already not the original variety. Even though it's open pollinated, it still very much resembles to the original thing. But anyhow, you can see here that this kale is trying to bolt now. It's creating a flowering stem. So all overwintered kales do so in our garden. It's a very common behavior, and this is a very good time to do a reset of the kale, or at least that's what I call it. A reset of the kale is to cut low the main stem, which started developing as a flowering stem, which then promotes side shoots to develop, as you can see here, and you see on the several other kales, the side shoots already emerging. Removing the main stem slows down the flowering or flowerscape producing signals, and it triggers again the vegetative growth, meaning that it gives the plant a signal to start growing and not reproducing, because it has lost the main flowering stem. And the reason to do that is to have more harvests of the same plant. We can easily get another yield out of those plants, and by that time our new seedlings will be ready to plant out, and we'll be able to overlap the two harvests. And what's more interesting here is that when I'm cutting the main stem, all of the side shoots that develop, each of them will turn into a separate stem. So each of the plants will in effect become several kale plants, and this will allow us to harvest at smaller size, baby size kale, but larger amount. You can see that I'm also removing all of the older leaves. I'm just dropping them to compost in place to become worm food. And when I first started doing that years ago, I was a bit hesitant about how will that influence the plant. Isn't that too much of a damage? Will the plant be able to continue growing? But after I did a few tests where I left the plant without any trimming and then trimmed some of those, I quickly realized that this type of early season pruning actually prolongs the life of the plant and allows us more harvest. So I encourage you to not just follow what I say without experimenting, but try this type of pruning on your kale plants and see how they behave. We have done the same thing on the curly cadet variety, which is also growing from our own seed, so no longer absolutely true to type, but still very curly. We don't have any of that overwinter, but we have seedlings started in the cold frame, so those will be planted out soon. Another thing that is very beneficial when you do this type of trimming is that you are able to do previous year this kale was planted in the fall and harvested then, but you're able to do a much denser planting with the idea that in spring you'll be doing this type of pruning, so spacing won't be much of a problem. Removing all those leaves will allow light and air flow in this whole row, and by the time that they regrow and start getting big, we'll start harvesting. And most certainly the side shoots that will emerge here, they will also probably have their flowering stem develop soon, but I need just one more harvest of those plants, and I'm certain that I will get that. And another small detail is that some of the plants, maybe 10% in our case, but do your own testing, they don't survive this type of trimming, and those are usually very weak plants that you don't want to be keeping in the garden anyway, because seeds from them won't be good for the selection, your own landrace variety, and you won't be getting any harvest of them additionally anyway. You can see here those little hoops which the wife made out of the spring pruning offcuts from the orchard. They're very convenient and biodegradable replacement to the plastic ones, and those can be done on the spot with whatever fresh branches you have available, even with stuff like this is a mix of plum and apple trimmings from the orchard. So now I'll have to finish this whole row, trim all the plants, and I'll let you know in a future episode how they regrow, how they bounce back, which of them will survive, and how much yield we'll be getting out of them. And I'm here at the final plant in the row. I wanted to show you quickly how I decide where to trim the plant. You can see that this one here, it doesn't have any side shoots growing yet, so I remove all of the leaves but this one, and cut 3 or 4 leaves from the base, slanted at an angle. Always do angled cuts if possible. And this one here, it already started branching out. There are multiple side shoots here, so I usually cut just above them, and you can see that all of those pieces, little tiny side shoots, they will develop into new stems, and they will grow bigger leaves in the coming weeks. This is my harvest so far, a 30-liter bucket full of kale, maybe about 2 kilos. This was harvested just from this small less than 4-meter row of a couple of dozen plants, and now it's time to harvest some of our self-seeded, open pollinated Swiss chard. You can see the variety in leaf shape and color even within this bed. So there are 2 ways in which I harvest the chard plants. If I want the plant to continue growing at its current location, I just grab all of the leaves and cut with a knife or with scissors as close to the base as possible, like that, and later discard the leaves which I don't like, and it will regrow readily from that base here, which is now invisible under the soil. And this one is just a single motion harvest. And if I wanted to remove the plant so it won't regrow in the same spot, in the same place, then I usually using again my gardening knife, do a couple of diagonal cuts in the soil. So I cut the root at about 20 centimeters of depth and just remove the root. Many times this won't kill the whole plant and it will try to regrow here, which is absolutely not a problem, but in some cases it just dies and the roots fertilizes the soil, creating channels for deeper water penetration, and you also get a nice rosette of leaves, of which I will discard the ones which are eaten or starting to get yellow or broken, and use just the nice looking ones. And this will become soil food here in the spot. So that was all for today, and I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully again in the company of the beautiful cherry blooming in our orchard.